Next we have another property that's also in the Athabasca Basin. Don't let the name fool you. CanAlaska, and here to present on behalf of the company is the company's COO, Corey Bielik.
All right, well, thank you for allowing me to present here today. Thanks to Red Cloud for rescuing me from the plus 40 temperatures in Nevada. That's where I was supposed to be today. It's much more civilized here in Toronto and hopefully in New York. So I'm here to talk a little bit about CanAlaska. I will focus primarily on one project in the Athabasca Basin that we're very excited about, some recent developments there that have us really interested in continuing our exploration efforts. But really, it says it all on our first slide, uranium. It's about carbon-free energy and where that takes us moving forward. We've seen this, we won't belabor it. So, there's a lot of interest out there in the world. People are changing their tune. Bill Gates, for one, is one that's really come on board and said it is the only carbon-free, scalable energy source that's available 24 hours a day. You have very high-profile people starting to take notice of uranium, the nuclear industry in particular, and people like this, and when they make statements like this, carry a lot of weight around the world. So what are the clean energy options? Well, there's a few out there, but when you start looking at fingerprints of these operations, they're very large, they're eyesores, and then you've got these small nuclear power plants. And scalability, again, some of them are large, 4 reactors maybe they go down to single reactors, very small space type reactors. What's really important here is that on 1 kilogram of coal, that light bulb will run, and I can't read that far sign, it will run 16 days. 1 kilogram of natural gas, 27 days, but on 1 kilogram of uranium, that same light bulb will run for 876 years. It's an incredible difference. So there's a lot of contained energy in a small space. It really is carbon-free energy. So CanAlaska assets, well, it has world-class geological targets. I'm going to talk about one of those today. Third-party funding has been a big part of what's been happening over the last 10 or 15 years with CanAlaska, the ability to bring in outside investment from other companies, state entities, various other players. It has a lot of uranium management and expertise. I'll go over that very briefly. And, uranium and nickel in particular. It's an odd combination, but really it isn't. You have uranium, which generates electricity, and sulfide nickel, not lateritic nickel, sulfide nickel, which can store it. So that's needed for batteries. So in terms of the combination between uranium and nickel, I'm not going to talk about the nickel story today. I'm going to focus on the uranium. Is that there is some really good synergies in the CanAlaska portfolio. And right now there's tremendous leverage for shareholders. There's only 45 million shares outstanding. There's a high growth potential here with continued success. So in terms of corporate structure, we're a well-structured company. We've got, again, 45 million shares outstanding, roughly 3.5 million in the bank after our recent financing. We're listed in Toronto, in the U.S., also in Germany. It's currently a good opportunity to invest in CanAlaska if you believe in the story that I'm about to share with you. So I'll let you decide on that. Our technical and political strength is really second to none. We've got our chair, Ambassador Thomas Graham. He's who served under 4 successive U.S. presidencies. He's worked over the last 35 years on all the major deals out there in the uranium space for the United States government. We've got Kathleen Kennedy Townsend, a lawyer, but deep roots in the Kennedys and also on the East Coast political scene. Dr. Carl Shimon. This is the gentleman that was highly involved, if not led, the discovery of the Scar Lake deposit in 1981. Very, very knowledgeable person. And I have a privilege of working with him today. Victor Fern, good support in northern communities in Saskatchewan. He understands what we do. He understands the benefits to northern Saskatchewan on discovery, and he's a big supporter of what we're trying to accomplish here. And Jean-Luc Roy has done it all in terms of exploration, development, and various jurisdictions around the world. He knows how to get it done. Peter Dazzler, the current president and CEO, long history, multiple decades in the exploration and mining space. In the last 15 years, he's driven this company toward continued success and generative activities. And I must say, in January, I was privileged to be asked to join this team to try and carry this project that I'm going to talk about today forward. I've been watching it for about 5 years. I did the deal between Cameco and CanAlaska back about 5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago now. I had 20 years experience with Cameco, and prior to that with Uraners and Orano. So I've been watching this project for a very, very long time. So where is our core interests? Our core interests are Saskatchewan and Manitoba. Now I think this is an older Fraser Institute from a number of years ago. Regardless, Saskatchewan and Manitoba always come in the top number of places in which to invest. So it's got a great wealth of mineral inventory, it's got experienced workforces, it's got extensive historical records upon which you can rely upon, and a security of tenure, and that's really important in all these jurisdictions globally. Security of tenure is second to none in Canada. So what are we looking for as a company? Well, we're not looking for mineralization. We're looking for what we call Tier 1 assets. Those assets like Cigar and MacArthur. They are incredibly rich deposits, $15,000 per ton in terms of value. That's equivalent to something like a 12-ounce per ton gold mine. It's unheard of. These are incredibly rich deposits. The two big ones, Cigar and MacArthur, we believe we have the right fingerprints in our project with mineralization already identified, which hint that we could be on a similar path. That's what we're looking for. So where are we located? Well, we're located in the Athabasca Basin and Manitoba. I'm not going to talk about the nickel assets today. I'm going to focus on the uranium assets. So our two core projects are the Cree Lake project in the south part of the basin, down in this area, as well as the West MacArthur project. And the West MacArthur project is what I'm going to focus on today. In terms of scale, these are roughly 30 by 40 kilometer project areas. They're vast. We could be looking for a target that's a few hundred meters in length. That's a needle in a haystack, to say the least. So we just completed a nickel drilling program in Manitoba. That's done. We're just gearing up for a West MacArthur uranium drilling, which is starting in about 2 weeks' time. So looking in at the West MacArthur project, which we're going to be drilling in a few weeks, we have the Grid 5 discovery. It's a new discovery made by Cameco. Cameco, the last number of years, in fact, the last 3 years, have been earning into 30% ownership of the project. They've been conducting the exploration. They drilled 8 holes on this project and made the Grid 5 discovery. It's just on the boundary of Cameco's Reed Lake project and the West MacArthur project. So 2 kilometers on strike, the same trend, what we call the C10 conductor trend or corridor, is Cameco's recent Fox Lake discovery. 68 million pounds at 8%. That's a big deposit, but it's not good enough at 700 meters depth or 800 meters depth. But we're 2 kilometers away, so we have obvious synergies here. We've got a trend which is fertile. Okay, it's got significant mineralization along it, and we believe that we have what looks to be a continuation of that very good trend. And to note, we're only 12 kilometers away from the world's richest uranium mine, that being MacArthur. So if we zoom in on this, and I apologize for this slide because those yellow lines should actually continue onto our project area. The colors here, the warm colors, represent the graphitic basement rocks. So that's the geology that we want to see associated with potential for uranium mineralization. Again, 2 kilometers on strike to the northeast is the Fox Lake discovery. Our project, with the Grid 5 discovery, has 2 very good intersections on the same section line. So they're 35 meters apart. We've got 5 meters at 1.5%. We've also got 5 meters at 1.3%. Now, at these depths, that is not enough, okay? But all these deposits start this way. Cigar started this way, MacArthur started this way. You find multi-percent intercepts over multi-meters, what I like to call the tiger by the tail. Okay, so that's what Cameco's done for us with their investment, is they've got the tiger by the tail. And now we're going to carry that forward as a 70% owner in the project to continue to work this discovery. And just for reference, there's MacArthur. So it's real close. And this is the main haul road down to Key Lake. That's where the MacArthur ore travels. So we zoom in with that a little bit further, and we start to look at the Grid 5 discovery in detail. We've got complexity in the ground EM, and this is just recent data processing from Cameco in the last couple of months, which highlight an area of interest here just southwest of our Grid 5 discovery. Now, what we can see here are these red lines. Okay, these all represent conductive basement lithologies. So that's graphite-bearing rocks in the basement. Where those rocks interact with the overlying sandstone is what they call the unconformity. Okay, so that is essentially our drill target. Our mineralized holes that I just talked about are right here on target B. We've got uranium shown here in red all throughout these holes. Okay, this is a very, very enriched and altered system. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. But this recent data processing shows complexity here. Complexity drives the open space required for uranium to deposit. These two holes have very good mineralization. There's a third hole here, 5% grade, but narrower width. It's showing that this has significant potential over several hundred meters to host mineralization of very good grade. Now, just for reference, these yellow circles or ovals that you see are 300 meters in strike length and about 30 to 40 meters in width. Half of MacArthur River sits in under 100 meters of strike length and 40 meters of width, and down dip projection about 80 to 100 meters. That's the scale of target that we're looking at if we're looking for 250 million pounds of a MacArthur or cigar type deposit. Very small target. Now, if we take our geophysics and we layer it on and we go, okay, let's look up in the sandstone for the alteration system. So that fingerprint we want to see around these large cigar MacArthur type deposits, Grid 5 has that character. This warm spot here represents alteration 200 meters up above the target horizon, above where we'd expect mineralization to occur, where we know mineralization occurs in B. This is, for reference, 1 mile in length, or about 1,600 meters, and about half a mile in width, or about 800 meters in width. And you can see the linearity following these red lines, or the conductors. That's exactly what we want to see for a fingerprint. This is a large alteration system. I think I just lost the projector. That's a large alteration system. So, it's back, sorry. So our geophysics is telling us something. I would be really excited as an exploration geologist in the uranium space in the Athabasca if I saw the geophysics looking like this in the absence of mineralization intercepts. Now, we already know we have mineralization of high grade and thickness, and good thickness, in target B, which is open on strike, down dip, and essentially in all directions. It's an exciting target. Let's back up some orange on this. So I'm going to cut a section here just to look at this alteration profile a little bit closer. And if we look to the northwest, this is what it looks like. We've got boron enrichment going to surface. That's 800 meters of boron enrichment. We've got uranium going to near surface, 600, 700, 800 meters of uranium enrichment through the sandstone. We're not talking just small levels of uranium. These are several times background by any stretch. This is highly enriched. We've got arsenic, one of the other trace metals, in particular at deposits like Cigar Lake, okay, which has a lot of arsenic in it, several hundred meters up into the sandstone. We've also got offsets in the basement between these sections. Just for example, that offset is the equivalent of a 10-story building. It's huge. The scale here is impressive. So we've got all this alteration happening along the system. This, again, is 1,600 meters by 800 meters. Incredible alteration system. This is drill-proven alteration in 8 holes. Uranium, arsenic, boron, other trace metals, right to surface. It's exactly the fingerprint we want to see on a large system. Now, after 2+ decades of working in the basin, there's very few examples in the Athabasca where this occurs and you don't find something that's a very large deposit. Remember, 2 kilometers away we have 68 million pounds. Here we have 2 intersections of 5 meters each at 1.5%. Okay, these things don't occur by accident. You need a large alteration system to generate a large deposit. If you have a small alteration system, you generally generate a small deposit. So there's all the signposts here that we're onto something very significant. So what are we doing in the summer of 2019? In 2 weeks' time, we're gearing up to drill this. We're going to carry it forward as a 70% owner. We're going to stay close to that tagger's tail. Okay, we're going to stay close to it within 30 to 50 meters. We're going to try and figure out what it's doing, where it's going. Can we find the upgrade? We've done a lot of modeling in the last number of months to try and sort out what's going on here, because where the mineralization exists, this is that target B, they have yet to intersect the controlling fault at the unconformity. So where the graphite mixes with the sandstone and where you would expect the highest grades uranium to be deposited. So we're going to seek that, and our first program is going in there to define that, and we may test other targets too, which are just as interesting and potentially just as valid. So we've done a lot of work trying to sort this out. We've looked at it in 3D. We've worked with Cameco. We've looked at all the old assessment files. There's a lot of space here. And again, that target has not been tested where we'd expect the best mineralization to occur. The controlling structure is not yet identified. You don't get mineralization of this magnitude without some controlling feature in the basement. We just need to sort that out. It's probably within 30 to 40 meters of where the mineralization exists. So in terms of a strategic opportunity, this is a very simplistic graph, but I think it's impactful. If you take McArthur River reserves and you just say, okay, they're going to produce at their past level of 19 million pounds per year. They have 19 years of mine life left at McArthur. There is no other deposit in the southeast portion of the Athabasca Basin that will feed Key Lake. It takes at least 15 years to permit one of these deposits to feed a mill. There's a $1.5 billion asset, the Key Lake Mill, that Cameco has, that's going to need feed in under 2 decades when McArthur River restarts. Now let's remember, McArthur has capacity to go to 24 million pounds, so this could be accelerated if they so choose, depending on the market. Regardless of when that starts, Cameco has a finite feed for Key Lake. They're going to want to feed it. They're a 30% partner. They're very interested in what we're doing, and they're very supportive. And there's a huge opportunity, a strategic opportunity. So again, carbon-free energy. We can't continue to do what we're doing. This is a shot from India. I worked in Mongolia for 5 years in Ulaanbaatar, one of the most polluted cities in the world. 4 power plants, coal-fired power plants within the city limits. It's horrendous. Infant mortality rates of 4 to 5%. It's shocking. We cannot continue to do this. It's really about helping the planet. Use uranium. Again, 876 years of runtime on that 1 kilogram. So, CanAlaska. We've checked all the boxes. We pride ourselves on project generation. We're focused on uranium. We've been dappling around in nickel and some other commodities as well, but you know, our passion and love is uranium. Well, odd enough to say, but it is. We've been successful finding co-funding, and really it's about advancing these new discoveries, which really haven't been known to the world in the last 18 months, and we're now able to give it to you, talk about it, and pursue it. So please, if you love the story, if you think it's valid, buy some CanAlaska stock, get on board. We'd love to have you along for the ride. We're certainly excited about the project potential, the West McArthur project, and yeah, let's hope we can build on that past success. Thank you.
Any questions from the room for Corey? Got a question here.
Except management, do you have any other major shareholders?
Major shareholders? We have about 4,000 shareholders, so that 45 million outstanding shares are widely held. Our recent financing put a lot of it into Sprott recently. They own a bigger chunk now, so that's just in the last number of weeks. Other than that, it's very widely held. Management holds, I think I didn't mention it, management holds about 8%.
The season of exploration?
Sorry? We should be able to drill into October if we have to, but we anticipate the program that we have planned, which is about 6,000 or 7,000 meters, will go until about mid to late September, depending on drilling ability. Yeah. And then again, we'd drill in the winter if we're going to raise the money.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Corey.